So what we've been doing through the Edenic covenant has been trying to lay down our rights, trying to lay down the foundation on which everything is being built on. God was layering another piece on top of it. Edenic is the foundation where he's trying to say, these are the basics. This is what you have. Everything else is just going to be built over top of this. But this is foundational. So with that, I said, I want to address a statement I made earlier in the study, especially now it's more relevant, especially in light of yesterday's Supreme Court ruling. Some of the things I'm speaking about is more relevant than ever. The question was, why is there such an unprecedented attack on the family? I mean, we look at homes being broken up, look at babies being snatched, and people just being strung out either on drugs or over their head and dead. I mean, the family unit has been going through havoc. I'm saying, why is there such an unprecedented attack on the family? But even better still, why is there such an unparalleled emphasis on redefining its structure? At Sister 4, you got the question that you're trying to say, why are we under such attack, and why the redefining of what it consists of? Why? That's the question. Why? And this is the basis. The reason why he puts so much heavy, because family is at the very heart of our covenantal relationship with God. Everything. The whole basis when God started cutting covenant and doing what he's doing, at the very heart of his thoughts is covenant. Satan's strategy of destruction of the family in this area is not only ageless, it's relentless. See, but God wanted us to know that because of before corporations and jobs, church, some people put him before church, before any of this, he said there was family. Before any of the businesses and for teams and for Olympics and modeling shows, I mean, all the things that can distract you. He said, before things become stuff, he said there was family. And family is at the very heart, foundational to our covenant relationship with God. I love Rabbi Shaul in Ephesians 5 and 6. When he made the statement, I'm going to go over there. You can turn it. Just I'm looking at Ephesians. The chapter's filled with it. I'm just going to highlight some pieces. Like over in chapter 5, verses 22. See, when Paul comes up and he says, I'm trying to stand family and getting things in order, he comes in and he just makes a statement. We see this. He says, wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as they do to the Lord. He said, because the husband is the head of the wife, just as the Messiah is the head of the church. See, but he's saying, wives, submit yourselves, put in order. Family. He didn't say to the neighbor, to your husband. Then down in verse 25, it says, and for husbands, love your wives, just as the Messiah loved them as loves the church. But he's trying to say, I'm talking to the wives, I'm talking to the husbands. You're a unit. I got to get you aligned wrong. And he even goes down to verse 31 and he tells us, it says, as a man and woman come together, he says, therefore, a man will leave his father and his mother and will remain with his wife, and the two shall become one. God's speaking in terms, he said, this is not talking about somebody, buddy, pals, friends. He said, I'm talking about family. I'm talking to the husband, I'm talking to the wife, I'm talking to the children. And children, he picks up, speaking to us, children, this is what you should do in union with the Lord is to obey your parents, for this is right. Honor your father and your mother, for this is the first commandment with promise. Rabbi Shaul understood the importance of what God placed when he says what family is. I love Yeshua. Yeshua teaching intimacy on prayer when he's talking to the disciples. When they said, teach us how to pray. And he could have said, God our Father, God in heaven. Yeshua didn't say God at that time. He didn't even address him as Lord. But he says, our Father. Father. Scriptures declare, as the family is built in the image of the Godhead. Family truly is built in the image of the Godhead. The Godhead, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. He said that word is the Hebrew word that kind of encompasses them. It speaks of it. It's called echad, one, whole. Hebrew, they call it shlosh baha, where you can talk and say the three in one. But he says, oh, there's multiple ones. Just like I stood up here and I had Anita, I, my daughter, son. We get up and see, you can say, well, there's a group of them up there, but they're one family. Multiple, but one family. I see in Genesis, when God declares to them, Genesis 1:26, again, it's family. He says, let us make man in what? In our image. Let us make them in our image. Yeshua said in John 10:30, he said, I and the Father are one. We're echad. We're whole. I function. I only do what I see my Father do. He says, we're one. In John 17:22, Yeshua looked at it as he's praying over the disciples, says, Father, just make them one, as we are one. Make them one. As we look at this whole image, specifically coming out of the Edenic, he says they're built. Why did God build them? He said he built them in his image as a unit, as a oneness. And he created them so that they would have dominion. In that lesson, in our previous lesson, we talked about this word dominion. In Hebrew, it's radah. I think we said this in Strong's. If you have the Strong's, you can look up 7287. That word is so encompassing. We had the different names that pulled out when Yeshua talked about having dominion, for them to multiply, for them just to prosper. But the essence of that dominion is this: to be placed in a position to receive the fullness of all that the earth has to offer. You are placed, God's equipped you and built inside you the ability to stand and to have dominion, to receive from earth everything that it has to offer. He gives you rulership of it. So from it, we can pull and we can exert our will, our might on this earth as a king. So God has placed us in a position to receive the fullness of all that the earth has to offer. That's why he speaks in terms of, he says, I give them dominion. You know, the Bible is all about generations. It speaks of generations again and again. Generations, I said, is just a big word for family. Or better stated, the fruitfulness of Adam. He created Adam and he continued to be fruitful. But then the question still remains, why is Satan so aggressive in this area? Why is he focusing so much on the family? Well, we know the family lies at the very heart of all God's covenant making. But Satan seen something that transpired in this Edenic covenant, that when God launched and put forth to man as a given dominion, Satan's goal is to nullify the power of Eden. He needs to undo that power. What do you mean power? What did God put forth? What did God put forth? to nullify this Eden. His goal in the Big Bang, his goal in the ape, his goal in destruction of the family, it's a goal in trying to pollute the mind. His goal is that he understands that there was a disbursement and a transference of power that came out of Eden. So his goal is to cancel. God gives this authoritative covenant that God has given to man. Our God-given command to have dominion. When God spoke in creation and placed everything into being in this order of creation, it said in that second day he looked at man as he brought forth, everything was good. Everything was in its place. Everything, there was no hierarchy taking place here. Everything was functioning as God had purposed it to be. And then God spoke into the creation itself, as we use the analogy of Lazarus' tomb. Instead, he could have just said, come forth, Lazarus. He could have said, come forth. And every body in that tomb would have stood up and came out of there because of his word and his command. So Yeshua had to zero in, target, so that he can get just the one he's talking to. And it says, Lazarus, not Jim, not Jerry, not Mo. He says, I'm talking to you. Come forth. And the one that he nailed to come forth, he comes out. Same thing here. God has called all earth is all set in being. Everything from the animal life to the sea life to the universe. Everything God looked out and as he spoke is all good. And now he zeroes in on all his creation when everything is good, and he calls forth man. And he empowers him to say, let you have dominion over all. I am not talking to the lion. I'm not talking to the bear. I'm not talking to the demon force. I'm talking to all my creative joy. I'm talking to man. Let us make them and let them have dominion and rule over everything that crawls, everything that grows and walks. May you have rule. I placed you in a position that you can gain everything, receive everything that the earth has to offer. It comes to you. You are ruler. You're built in my image. You're in the seen realm. So Satan understands that power, that authority that was authorized in there was given to man. He said it's his authoritative covenant that's sustaining all creation, this Edenic covenant, this covenant of creation, everything that it sustains. If I can cancel out that authoritative covenant. He says, and then I got to focus on his empowering blessing. I got to focus on this that activates gifts within. See, he's focusing not only on the 3-in-1 blessing where God has engulfed us, kneeled before us, made his countenance to shine upon us, fill us. He says, I need to cancel out that blessing that activates their gift. Because once God spoken to them, then he said, now, like you pull the plug, now be fruitful or multiply. Everything that's been impregnated within you, everything that's about you, stand up and have dominion and rule and be fruitful and rule. He says he has to try to cancel out that all-encompassing 3-in-1 blessing, but also the empowerment that he's given us to bless our children and our families. And in blessing them, as Anita was talking today about the words that he's spoken over them, it activates gifts inside them. You can kill them or you can make them alive. With the power of the tongue, you can enact your son and bless them and make them walk as rulers, or you can speak to him and kill him and make him walk as an ant. But the enemy is trying to ward off that peace, his blessings, and the power of the tongue. But ultimately, his whole goal and his thought, if I can undo the blessings, I can undo the covenant. If I can make them think of themselves as an ape, living in a world that just came into existence by a big bang. He said, then ultimately, they may not realize that the purpose of all God's covenants is family. Everything is built on family. God so loved the world that he gave. He said before the foundation of the world, Yeshua was slain to redeem man, to redeem Adam, to redeem family. He said he always have a remnant in earth. His whole piece about all the covenants From the Edenic to the Adamic to the Noahic to the Abrahamic to the Mosaic to the Davidic and even to the renewed. It's all built in response to God's family. That's what we're about, family.